Turning pain into purpose, coping with loss without losing yourself. Hello friends, and welcome to Mind Matters. If you're watching this today, chances are you, or someone you deeply care about, has experienced the painful loss of a loved one. Grief is one of life's most difficult experiences, and coping with grief after loss can feel overwhelming. When someone you love passes away, the emotions can be so intense that they cloud your judgment, influence your decisions, and even push you toward unhealthy choices. For many young adults, these emotions lead to destructive paths such as gangs, crime, substance use, or withdrawing completely from society. Understanding how grief affects decisions is the first step toward recognizing the risks and avoiding harmful coping mechanisms. But grief does not have to destroy your future. By exploring healthy ways to deal with grief, such as journaling, art, or joining support groups, you can find safe outlets for pain. Through stories of resilience, you'll also see how others have transformed grief into growth, proving that turning pain into purpose is possible. Coping with loss without losing yourself means channeling your emotions into healing, strength, and meaningful purpose instead of self-destruction. Now let's consider how grief impacts emotions and decisions. Grief affects every part of life, especially emotions and decision-making abilities. The weight of loss can cloud judgment, leaving people vulnerable to impulsive actions that provide temporary relief but long-term harm. Coping with grief after loss often feels impossible when emotions like sadness, anger, guilt, and loneliness dominate everyday experiences. When left unmanaged, these emotions may lead to poor decisions such as substance abuse, reckless behavior, or criminal activity. Young adults experiencing grief are especially at risk because emotional development is still ongoing. The brain seeks comfort during pain, and destructive choices may appear easier than positive ones. How grief affects decisions becomes clearer when we see people turn to gangs or crime for belonging and distraction from pain. For someone who has lost a parent, sibling, or close friend, these decisions often mask deeper struggles rather than solving them. Understanding how grief impacts emotions is essential for preventing risky behavior. Recognizing the link between loss and choices helps young people pause before acting on destructive impulses. When emotions feel overwhelming, knowing that grief influences thoughts can help individuals seek healthier alternatives. By acknowledging that grief is shaping decisions, young adults can begin redirecting their energy into positive coping methods rather than harmful behaviors. The next step is to consider some healthy ways to express and release pain. Healing after loss requires safe outlets for pain. Without healthy ways to deal with grief, emotions may spiral into destructive actions. Expressing grief through positive channels not only releases emotional weight but also encourages growth and resilience. Countless coping strategies for grief do not involve breaking the law or turning to gangs. Journaling is one powerful tool. Writing down emotions provides clarity, helping individuals process grief without bottling it inside. Journaling creates space for reflection, making it easier to track healing progress and recognize patterns in emotions. By expressing anger, sadness, and guilt on paper, young adults can release negative energy instead of turning it into harmful behavior. Art and music also provide healthy ways to express grief. Creative expression transforms pain into beauty, allowing emotions to flow safely. Whether painting, singing, or playing instruments, creativity offers comfort when words feel insufficient. Art can serve as therapy, making grief manageable while promoting self-discovery. Support groups and counseling remain some of the most effective positive coping strategies for grief. Talking with others who have experienced similar losses prevents isolation and provides guidance. Sharing grief reduces the burden and opens doors to advice, encouragement, and healing. Support groups for youth and adults alike create safe environments to release pain without fear of judgment. By exploring these healthy ways to express grief, young people gain tools for resilience. Instead of turning to crime or self-destruction, they find constructive outlets that not only ease pain, but also inspire growth. Stories of resilience, turning struggles into strength. Real-life stories of resilience reveal that grief can lead to strength rather than despair. Individuals who once felt hopeless have found purpose after loss, proving that transformation is possible. These stories encourage others to believe that coping with grief after loss does not require destructive behavior. One young man lost his brother to violence and initially considered joining a gang for revenge. However, through mentorship and community programs, he redirected his grief into advocacy against youth violence. His story shows how grief can inspire change rather than crime. Instead of repeating cycles of pain, he created opportunities for awareness and prevention. A woman who lost her mother during her teenage years turned to journaling and art therapy instead of risky behavior. Over time, her artwork inspired others dealing with grief, and she built a career teaching coping strategy for grief through creative expression. Her resilience demonstrates how healthy outlets transform pain into purpose. Another powerful story involves individuals who served jail sentences but later rebuilt their lives by sharing their journeys with younger generations. By turning pain into purpose, they prevent others from repeating the same mistakes. Their experiences show that while grief may influence poor decisions, it can also inspire redemption and resilience. Hearing these stories reminds young adults that their own grief can become a foundation for growth. Pain may feel endless, but resilience proves healing is always possible. Another interesting subtopic we will consider is finding your purpose in the midst of grief. Grief can leave life feeling meaningless, but discovering purpose helps individuals cope without losing themselves. Finding strength in grief requires small, consistent steps that shift focus from loss to growth. While pain never disappears completely, it can become the motivation for meaningful change. Volunteering is one way to channel grief into purpose. Helping others provides a sense of fulfillment and shifts focus from personal pain to positive impact. Many grieving individuals discover new meaning by supporting those in need, creating healing for themselves while serving others. Education and career goals also offer direction. When grief feels overwhelming, setting personal milestones creates hope for the future. Pursuing skills, training, or education helps young adults see possibilities beyond pain. By focusing on progress, they avoid destructive distractions and build long-term stability. Spiritual and personal growth often flourish in times of grief. Many individuals turn inward, seeking meaning through faith, meditation, or mindfulness practices. These approaches provide comfort while helping individuals discover resilience within themselves. By connecting with inner strength, grieving individuals find balance and peace. Finding purpose does not erase grief, but it prevents grief from destroying identity. Purpose transforms pain into direction, giving life renewed meaning despite loss. Why coping with grief positively prevents crime and despair. Many people underestimate how grief influences risky behavior. Without guidance, young adults often choose destructive coping mechanisms that temporarily numb pain, but cause lifelong damage. By spreading awareness about healthy ways to cope, communities can reduce crime and create stronger support systems. Coping with grief after loss requires compassion, guidance, and accessible resources. Families, schools, and community programs must recognize the risks associated with grief and offer alternatives. By highlighting resilience stories and promoting support groups, young adults gain encouragement to choose healing over crime. Breaking stigma around grief is also essential. Too often, youth feel pressured to appear strong, leading them to suppress emotions. This silence can push individuals toward gangs, drugs, or violence. Open conversations about mental health and grief normalize the pain, making it easier to seek help. By combining awareness, resources, and community support, it is possible to prevent cycles of crime caused by unresolved grief. Instead, grief becomes a catalyst for strength, purpose, and positive change. Now let's recap what we have considered about grief. Grief is an unavoidable part of life, but it does not need to define your future. Losing someone you love may break your heart, but it does not need to break your spirit. By recognizing how grief impacts emotions and decisions, practicing healthy coping strategies, and learning from stories of resilience, you can cope with loss without losing yourself. Your grief can become a bridge to purpose rather than a prison of despair. Whether through journaling, art, support groups, or service to others, every step toward healing builds resilience. Remember that coping with grief after loss is not about forgetting the pain, but about transforming it into strength. If you are grieving, know that you are not alone. Communities, mentors, and countless resources exist to help you heal. Share your story, find your purpose, and keep moving forward. Turning pain into purpose may feel difficult, but it is possible. With every healthy choice, you honor your loved one's memory while creating a future filled with hope and resilience. Now I want to hear from you. Which of part touched your heart most? What advice, comfort, or experience would you share with others who are grieving? Please leave a comment, ask questions, and connect with others in this community. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Mind Matters, and share it with someone who may need comfort today. Together, we can walk this journey of grief with compassion, honesty, and hope. We also invite you to explore our website, www.mindmatterseveryday.com, to learn more about your mental health and wellness.
See you in our next video.